All right.
Okay, well, welcome back, everybody, to the Coptic class, and we'll start with a prayer before we get going. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Through Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody, and hope everybody had uh, uh, enjoyed the no homework for the last couple of weeks from us, or at least from the Coptic class. For those of you who were here last time, we didn't have an assignment last time. So what we'll do instead of reviewing the homework assignment today is we'll go through and review some of the different tenses and things that we've gone through since the very beginning. And I think we'll use today's lesson as just kind of to review some things, and instead of moving on, we're going to just try to do a generalized review today, and then we'll go through some readings and try to translate them and kind of reinforce all the different stuff that we've been learning. So I'm going to switch over here to the screen. So again, if we start talking and you're not able to see the screen or anything like that, then please, excuse me, then please just let me know. Okay, so you should hopefully be seeing the screen here. And basically, I'm just going to this is the chalkboard that we've been using since the very beginning, and we'll just kind of run through these things and go over the different uh, you know grammatical components and tenses and all that stuff that we've reviewed over the past, I guess, semester and a half or so. And I think from here on out, we're probably going to slow down the speed of the course a little bit so that everybody can grasp things better as we go through. Um, and we'll go from there. So if anyone has any questions at any point, again, please just let us know. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Um, and just send them in and we'll go from there. So when we first started, um, let's see here, we talked about how everything is going to fit into this general category of these 6 boxes here. We have the the singular column and the plural column. Then you have the first person row, the second person row, second person row, and then the third person row. So what do these things mean? Well, singular means it's one person. Plural means it's 2 or more people are involved. First person means it's like I or me, or we if it's plural. Second person means you, and it could be, again, if it's singular, it's masculine or feminine. Or if it's plural, again, there's really no masculine or feminine because it's 2 or more people. So it's just your. There's no gender specificity, I guess. And then the third person, it's him or her, or he or she for the singular, or their for them, or for the plural. So everything, again, like I said, is going to fit into that category. And I'm just looking here. It looks like some of the parts of the pronouns are missing. I'm just going to add in some of the missing ones here. Again, I'm just going back through the chalkboard that we've gone through. So excuse me for 1 second. Oops. I'm going to change this to Coptic here, and then we'll go through the pronouns. So first person singular pronoun is anok. Second person in thok for the male, or in tho for the female, meaning you male or female. In thof for masculine. In thos for feminine. The plural. Anon for we. In thotin for you, plural. And in thou for them. And again, these are the pronouns that we use. Pronouns are words that take the place of a noun. So instead of using the name like my name is Joseph, so Joseph walks home, you would say he walks home. So he is the pronoun, and that's what these are here. So in Coptic you'd say Yusuf Shaf Moshi Epif E. Or if you want to use the pronoun, sorry. Can't type today, sorry. Okay. Can't find the right letter. Yeah. Yusuf. If you're going to use the habitual tense, because it's just, remember we talked about last time the habitual tense, Shaf Moshi E Pif E. So this is the noun, and this is the verb conjugated with the habitual prefix here. And remember this particle meaning to or towards, and then the possessive adjective, his, and E is house. So Joseph walks, habitually, he walks home. Joseph walks to his house. But instead of using Joseph, if for whatever reason you were talking like about Joseph, you could say he walks to his house. So you would just replace the Joseph for Intof. So that's what these are. These are the different forms of the personal, or the different forms of the pronouns. So that was one of the first things that we took, and then we talked a little bit about when we make sentences. Depending on the form of the article, if it's a definite article, the sentences go in this order, where the pe, te, or ne goes in the middle. In thof pe pi elu. But if the object has an indefinite article, u or han, then this order is reversed. So the pe would be afterwards. So in thof pe pi elu, in thofu elu pe, etc. So those are some of the things we went about in the first weeks. We then talked about the possessive adjectives, which again, everything follows in the same 6-box pattern. And remember, the break is going to be cash means pencil or read. So pa, cash means my pencil. Pick, cash, yours. Pe, cash. Remember, when you're speaking or saying it, you're going to want to have the break right here. Pe, cash, your pencil. Again, speaking to a female in this case. Pif, cash, pis, cash, his or hers. Pen, pitten, pu. Okay? So those are the possessive adjectives denoting like mine, his, hers. And again, those are the masculine ones. The feminine ones are the exact same thing, except we're going to change the first letter from the P to the Tav. Just like in the definite articles. Remember, we have P, T, or ni for the masculine, the singular, or the plural. So same thing. Basically, we're going to have that equivalent of the as the first letter for the masculine, feminine, plural possessive adjectives. So same thing. Ta, tik, ti, tif, tis, ten, titten, tu. And then the plural, same thing, but it's going to be the ne. Na, nik, ni, nif, nis, nin, nitten, and nu. So those are the possessive adjectives. And then we started getting into some of the different verb tenses and learning how to conjugate verbs. So osh, for the most part, means to read, but it has other meanings. It means to make a promise. It can mean to cry out or to say in a loud voice, and has very other meanings too. But it really depends on the context. And again, we follow this same exact pattern, and we have again we'll use osh as meaning to read. So ti osh means I read. So ti osh en pigon. Okay. So for example, ti osh. Let's say in Hangul. That means I read. I think of this as in parentheses some books because it's plural. Or I read books is probably the best way to say it. Because basically this han is like the S at the end of the word books. This just means it's plural. So I read books. Ti osh Hangul. Present tense is simple present. Okay? So that's the present tense. Second person, masculine, ik, versus the kappa versus the kai. Remember, it changes depending on the verb. If it starts with one of the bil manur letters, then it changes to the kappa. To the key. So that's why in this case it's ik osh. In this case it's ik wum. Te. So I always remember ti ek te, fs, ten, teten, se. Okay. Now the next part we talked about is the simple future tense. So tina uum, I will eat. Just a simple future tense. It's the same exact thing as the simple present tense, except we add na in between. Okay. And in this case, in the second person, this is the key because this next letter is one of the bil manur letters. So that's why in the future tense we never have a kappa here, but we always have a key. So ti na uum, ik na uum, te ra uum. This is just one of the the strange things that we notice. It may have some roots in ancient Egyptian, in the hieroglyphic language or script or Demotic script, but I don't know the exact explanation for this, or if it's has something to do with linguistics. But for whatever reason, in the second person feminine, this ne is a rho. It doesn't make any like logical sense because everything is na na, then you have ra na na na, but for whatever reason that's just the way it is. So some people may look at like the Epsilon or this comes up in the Khilmat Shemes books, especially for some of the feasts or celebrations of Saint Mary. And some people have asked me, like, is that a typo or what? But it's really not a typo. That's actually correct. So te ra uum, you will eat. This is the feminine. So that's, for whatever reason, that's just the way it is. If na uum, isna uum. Tin na, titin na, se na uum. Okay? And then remember we talked about if you're going to use, instead of having these things here, if there's like a specific person or a thing or something that you want to say, you can say piromi, not uum. So the word piromi, the subject, takes the place of this first letter here. So there can be sentences like this. So it's not missing anything here. You can say piromi na uum. And also you'll see in some cases piromi if not uum. You'll see it both ways. So that's not an error if it has it or doesn't have it. It's just, it's different authors, different composers write things differently, and both of those ways are grammatically correct. And again, you can also change the piromi to, you can say somebody's name. Yusuf, if not uum. Or Yusuf, not uum. Those are just various ways of saying it that are grammatically correct. Then we have some examples here that we went through. Then we talked about the past tense. The past tense is going to basically, you're going to have the same, I guess, second part of the prefixes, but it's really the front part of the prefixes that change, but the second part doesn't change. This is always what's indicating which person. And then this part here indicates which tense, and all the different tenses. So you can see I, moshi, compare that to like the simple present tense. It's basically the letter T. Think of it as T plus I. Okay, so then when we look in the past tense now, we have A, or alpha plus iota. Sorry, I keep talking about English. Okay, so you see how where that's coming from. So we still have the same second part, but it's this first part that tells us which tense we're talking about. Same thing with here. Ak. Same thing with here. It's e. Remember it's for the simple tense, or present tense, it's t, ek, te. So you see this e. F, s. But here we have off us. So you see how this is what's always going to tell us which person we're talking about. The first part is always going to tell us which tense we're talking about. So aymoshi, akmoshi, aramoshi, afmoshi, asmoshi, anmoshi, aratenmoshi, avmoshi, and you can say like epoi to their home or something. Okay, so this is the way to look at it to see how, we say T saji, but think about it. It's the tav plus the iota makes this. So this is the person. And then we talked about other ways see how the alpha plus the iota, or the alpha plus this second thing, that's what indicates the person. So sometimes we'll see sentences in this pattern. The piromi takes the place of this. So a piromi moshi. That means the man walked. As opposed to like af moshi or something, for example, he walked. See how so hopefully you're seeing the pattern of how the language works. Okay? And then we had some different examples we went through. And then we went to the negative of the past. So the other one was the affirmative of the past, and then the negative of the past. So same thing. You have this part, this E. Remember we talked about how it actually has this E that becomes assimilated, so it's actually invisible and blended in, or contracted in, so it's not written out. So if we use the same paradigm as we went over before, you're going to have the mpe plus like for the first person singular. And this basically becomes assimilated into MP. Okay, so it's not as clear in that one, but in these other ones, it's just as clear as the previous examples. MP plus the kappa. Okay, and then the verb. So we were using the example saji. So empik saji, you did not speak. Okay. So same thing. You can, if you want to replace this pronoun, think of it as like the pronoun indicating which person. You can replace it with a noun, whether it's this or a person's name or something. You just replace this letter with this. Okay. Any questions so far? If anything comes up, just let me know. So hopefully you're starting to see these patterns, how it's always the iota, it's always the kappa, it's always the e, it's always the phi, it's always the sigma, it's always the ne. And then this is the itten, it's always this itten. And this is always the epsilon or the u epsilon. And again, that's a whole other story because this epsilon, some people believe it was actually pronounced as a W sound, in the same way that the u epsilon is a W sound. But that's a whole other issue that we don't really want to get into the pronunciation. That's the thing that most people are interested in the pronunciation more than the understanding. I'm more interested in understanding than the pronunciation, so I don't really like to go into that. And so same thing. So nai, nak, nare, naf, nas, nan, naretin, nav. So same thing. If you want to change this pronoun and have like a name, nara, piromi, nav, that's fine. Okay. And then some homeworks that we went through here. I hope this is refreshing everybody's memory. If anyone has any questions or anything so far, please feel free to send them in. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down here. I think we might have. Maybe I deleted some stuff here, but that's okay. I'm just kind of trying to go through these things. So we'll be able to go through everything here shortly anyway. We're going to do a lot of examples. Okay. So, and then we did the habitual present tense. So I hope you see this pattern, this iota, kappa, this e, the phi, the sigma, the itten, the ne, the epsilon, shai, shak, share, shaf, shas, shan, sharetin, shav, eshlil. Habitual present. That indicates things that are inherent truths. The sun sets, share, efri, hotb. The sun shines, share, efri, shai. And those are things that are inherent truths, means that those are just things that are factual, that's just the way it is. So that's why when I said in the beginning, I said, share, Yusuf, Moshi, epif, Joseph walks to his house. Because that's just the way it is. I go home at the end of the day. That's just the way it is. It's an inherent truth. And then we talked about the object pronouns. Like for example, let's see. I don't know if we have it written here somewhere, but we talked about object pronouns. Moi, for example. And like the most famous example that we see all the time is like when we sing the hymn Unuf Immo. So Unuf means to be happy or rejoice. Immo is the second person feminine. So that means rejoice you. Unuf Immo Maria. Rejoice you, O Mary, or rejoice, O Mary. Okay? And again, you can see this same pattern, the iota, the kappa. In this case, you'll see in the feminine, it's not always the E, but it can end with the O, the small O, not the omega. And again, this depending on what conjugations, it's either going to be mostly the iota or the O. The phi, sima, it's the same thing. Ne, instead of itin, it's otin, but it's got the same sound to it. And then, like I was saying, the O epsilon instead of just the epsilon by itself. But it's, again, some people believe that used to make the same sound. So emoi, emok, emmo, emmof, emmos, emmon, emmoten, emmou. And then same exact pattern again, but these are the we'll go through some examples, meaning to or towards, and then to or towards whom. So yeah, again, we'll go through some examples when we go through the Bible reading, but it's the same iota, kappa. Again, it's the O that assimilates in, the phi, si, ne, oten instead of itin, and O epsilon instead of just the epsilon. So, for example, in here we had the homework examples of mi ak are epik osh. Again, mi is like a question mark. Ak are, did you study? E, pik osh. This is the linking particle. Again, e, instead of the linking particle like may or ne, tends to be used in certain verbs of the senses. And are being to study or learn, it's like relating to the senses of the mind, I guess, is one way to think of it. Or verbs of action. And like if you hit somebody, like say, like I hit my brother, I shari e pason. Okay, versus like I gave the book to somebody, I gave it to somebody, you say I ti im pagum, because it's not really going something that's going like to or towards something, but you're just saying I gave this thing, and it's not a verb of the senses. So that's kind of the difference. That's just a general rule. It's not an absolute rule. And again, when we see more examples, these things become more apparent. That was my initial goal, which was to try to go through the textbook in this first year, so that hopefully then I was hoping the next couple of years we could have just gone through examples and example after example after example, because that's really the way to lock it in. But I think based on feedback and stuff, we had some requests to go a little bit slower and do more reviews. So that's going to be kind of the goal. So we'll be going a little bit slower and doing a little bit more reviews. So. And then last time we talked about they call it like the verb to have. It's not really a verb, but it's just indicating possession. And then we talked about this full form, or this the condensed forms. Okay, wun and ti. Wun means there is. N is just a linking particle, and T, again, this ends with this iota, so you can see the same exact pronoun ending of these things. That's what indicates the person, and it's just the first part of it that indicates what's the tense or what's going on. So wun and ti. Wunti or wunti. There's different ways of writing it. Wun and talk, wuntak, or wuntik. Wun and te. So this basically means like I have. Like you can say, like, for example, wun and te. And again, if you want to change that pronoun portion to a noun, that's fine. Wun and te piromi and ogom. Or you can say wun and ti and ugom. Or you can say with the third form, wun ti ugom. It doesn't have the linking particle. So this is just a condensed version of this. And this one will be, the following word won't have the linking particle. Wun and tak, wun tak, wun tik, wun and te, wun te. See, it's the same thing. It's just, all you do is you change this last portion, and you get the person that you're talking about. And then the negative of it is you just change this to M1. M1 means no, or there is not. So there is not of me. I don't have. But everything else is exactly the same. So that's how you say I have something or I don't have something. And then we talked about the the qualitative form, which again, it has its own special uses, like for example, one of the most famous examples we see is in the hymns, like for Saint Mary, we say Are Ohi Ere Oi Impar Theos. So Ohi means to stand, like literally the action to stand up or to stand. But because it means to stand, it's also used to mean for something to remain or to wait or to persist or stay. So when we're talking about Saint Mary, Are is the past tense for the feminine singular, so Are Ohi, so you remained. And then we're having the second part, which is the this tense that we took last time, Ere Oi. Again, it's the second person feminine. Oi means to be. So you stayed or you remained, you being in parthenos, virgin, the Greek word for virgin with this linking particle. So basically, the simplest way to think of it is when you have this conjugation pattern, in English think of it as the verb with ing. So a saji, so I walking, ik saji, you walking, ere saji, if saji, is saji, in saji, ereten saji, if saji. Another place you'd see it, for example, is we see it quite a bit when we say if, push, evol, if, go, immos. Okay? So this means he crying out, he saying, and in Coptic when you say something, you don't just say like if it has like and he saying it. So this is, remember, this is the feminine. We talked about it in general. If there's just some kind of it, in many cases it's just the feminine. So he crying out, he saying it. Because if you don't have this object here and just say if go, it means to sing. Sing a song. So go immos. So we'll run across this quite a bit, and really it's going to be a lot easier to explain when we go through some examples. And well, here's a good example actually. So Einav erof efsaji nimpefiot. Einav, remember the past tense, I saw. Nav is a verb of the senses. So we're going to use erof instead of emof. So I saw him speaking with his father. So we put this he in parentheses because this is the third person masculine singular. So I saw him, comma, he speaking with his father. I mean, it's not really a comma, but I mean, I saw him speaking with his father. But that's the way that this tense is used. And here's another example. We talked about how asha'u, this is again this generic. This is the feminine past tense, but again it's the generic for it. Like it rained. Ha'u means to rain, and this means rained. Mun ha'u is like a downpour, so it rained a downpour. So standing on my feet, standing on my feet, she rained a downpour, but it's not she. It's in English we think of it as it. So when you say, you can't just start a sentence in English with saying standing on my feet, it rained a downpour. So you would just add this while I was standing on my feet, it rained a downpour. Because whenever you translate something, it needs to be translated into a logical way that makes sense. So standing on my feet, it rained a downpour, or it rained quite a bit, or it rained excessively, or while standing. And here's other example we went through earlier. And that's kind of about as far as we got. So I know we skipped over a couple tenses that for whatever reason are deleted off my fancy chalkboard here. That's I just kind of want to review a little bit, and then we can spend some time just doing some different translations and going over some stuff. So if anyone has any questions, it'd be a good time to we can kind of go over some of those things now, or we can just do some readings and translations. And like I said, I think what we'll do is we'll do 1 week of review, or we'll do one new lesson, and then the following lesson will be a review. And I guess we can kind of go along that paradigm. It's going to take us a little bit longer to get through the stuff, but hopefully it becomes hopefully everybody learns things better, and it doesn't stress people out or anything if we do it that way. So we'll do some readings today. So let's just go ahead and do the reading, and then we'll come back and translate it. And again, today it's a nighttime, so it's turning into the 24th, but today's the 23rd of Baramhat. So we'll just again go through the reading, and then we can translate it. Emperka Romi etchitu engots. Owo afsohi en han uru heri egau. Je emper chinem na Christos. O emper petau chenna ebrofitis. Alleluia. Etafsaji de aftiho erof enje ufariseos hopos entef chatot. Etaf she'echun de afroteb. Pi fariseos de etafnav af erjviri je empef chioms en shorp chajen pi Pegaf de naf enje isos je tino intoten chani fariseos titentuvu savol en pi avot nem pi binag. Sachun de emoten meh en holem nem ponireie. Ni atit mi fi an etaftamia savol entof on aftamia sachun. Eplin ni etshop mito ethmetnait awois hob niven setuveot noten. Allah uoi noten ni fariseos jeteten ti emefremit empi achim enestoi nempi vashosh nem uoti neven uoteten ko en soten empi hap nemti agapi ente efnoti naide nas emepsha enteten aito awoni kekauni enteten ishtemkav en sathino uoi noten ni fariseos jeteten mei en ni shorp emma en hemsi خني سيناغوغي نم ني أسباسموس خاني أغورا وأوي نوتين جتتن أوي أمفريتي أني أمهاف يتي أنسوان هيفول آن أواني رومي أثموشي هيغاو أنسي أمي آن Af eru the enje awai en ninomikos, pegaf nafje, pirefti ezvo. Nai ego emau, ekshosh emonhon. En thof the, pegaf je en thoten hoten, chaninomikos o oinoten. Jetetin talo en han et faowi evmok emfito ejeniromi. Owo en thoten teten chi ni et faowi an en owai en netentib. Ooi noten jetitin kot en ni amhaven tenebrofitis netinioti av khotbu. Hara titin methre titin timati ejeni ehvi owi en tenetinioti. Jent umen av khotbu en toten titin kot. Edvefai atike sofeyen tefnoti gos je tinawar paraun hanabrofitis nem hanabostolos. Owo ev khotib evol en khito, owo ev echogi en sau. Hina en sechi emepshish, emepsnov en nebrofitis, eta fonf evol, is genet katabolim picosmos en tots en taigeni a. Is genet esnov en avel, shap esnov en Zecharias, pshirium barakias, fi eta of takov, ote, pima einer shaushi, nem pi. Seti se, tigo emos nten, jesena koti en sof en tots en taigeni a. Pi o fa penoti pe, sha'an tiniene, tiro, amin. So this is a little bit longer reading than some of the readings I've done before, but which is fine. So let's go back up to the top here and we'll kind of try to find some things that we've studied. So we didn't study this, but let's skip that. So Romi, we know is the word means man. Af sohi. Sohi means to punish or discipline. So af sohi means he disciplined or punished. In han ura'u. Ura'u remembers the plural for king with the indefinite article, the plural indefinite article with the plural indefinite, with the plural king. So he punished or he disciplined kings. Here they have it translated as he reproved kings. Eheri ega'u. On their behalf. And again, emper, we didn't study about that, but it's the imper is the imperative or the command for do not do something. So imper, like if we're going to say saji, like do not, that means do not speak. So it goes to all, we talked about the 6 boxes for the 6 different people, like I, you, he, she, it, we, they, him, her, it, etc. This goes for all 6 of those boxes. So imper can be to multiple people, to one person, to female, male, it doesn't matter. It does not get conjugated. It's just the imperative form for do not do something. So imper saji, do not speak. Imper chinem. Chinem means to touch. So imper chinem means do not touch. And then this is simple here. This is the possessive adjective, the plural, because it's ne. Not prophetis is my prophets. Prophetis is the Greek word for prophets. Here, of tiho erof, tiho, we come across this verb a lot, and tiho is like an expression to ask, but not just a regular ask. It's like to beseech or to beg or something like that. It's more, it's not just simple like to ask, which is like the verb shini. So of tiho. So let's see. Yeah. So here they translate as besought him. Okay. Of tiho erof. So he asked or besought erof instead of emof, because again, certain verbs, they will have this linking particle, the e, instead of the standard may or nay. So aftiho erof, he asked him, namely, nj, u pharisios. Pharisios is Pharisee, and again, this is an indefinite article. So he asked him, or he besought him, namely a Pharisee, that he may eat chatot, again means with him. Rotib means to sit down, recline, make yourself comfortable. So when he was asked, he made himself comfortable. Af rotib, past tense. Piferiseos, again, this is a definite article. Etafnav, of erishviri. Erishviri means to be amazed, or here they have it as marveled. Erishviri means to be amazed. So of erishviri means he was amazed. The Pharisee, when he saw this, he was amazed. Je impef chioms. Impef, again, it's the negative past. So he did not. Chioms. Chioms means to, we always say, yo andas pirif chioms. Chioms means to, chi is to take, and oms is submersion, like submersion underwater. So chioms means to submerge, or we say, you could think of it as like John the Submerger. But when we think of it in English, we always say John the Baptist, because he submerges people in the water. So, but it literally means to submerge. So impif chioms means he didn't like submerge or wash his hands. In short means first. So he didn't wash his hands first before. Pi uum. So remember, uum means, the verb means to eat, but when it's used as a noun, it means the meal. So you can say like empif uum and pi uum. He did not eat the meal. So, but here pi uum means the meal. Just in general, but here they're again they're just calling it dinner because again it's but it basically just means the meal. It doesn't specifically mean dinner. Pegaf de naf en je isos je tino in toten. Remember we talked about the pronouns, so that's the second person plural. So you plural. So now Jesus is talking to them. He's saying you. He's talking back at the Pharisees. You. The Pharisees, cha means this is a different, hard to explain, but it means, I would just think of this as like a comma in English. It's not really translatable into English. So you, comma, the Pharisees, comma, you purify yourself, you purify the outside. So you, plural, comma, the Pharisees, comma, you purify or clean the outside of the cup. So this is not really translatable. So, in the end of like in the end of the psalm, when you say like the Kyrie eleisons, and you say Anon cha nik eviaik, we, comma, your servants. So the cha is not really translated. It's just again, it's in Coptic, but it's in English. It's not really translatable. So it just means that this you is this, in the same way that anon cha nik eviaik means the anon, the we, cha, I guess you can name it as R, nik eviaik, your servants. Okay. Titin tuvu means to purify or clean. This comes from Oweb, if Oweb, that means to be pure or clean, but this is the causative form of it with this tav in the beginning, and it's so that you don't have to conjugate these things. This is just a standard thing, but this is just where this word originated from etymologically. So it comes from two parts: the tav, coming from the word ti, to give or to cause, and uvu from oweb, to be pure. So to cause to be pure. So titin tuvu, you purify or you clean. Savol means outside, and afot means the cup. Like when Abuna says pike afot, من صبي ذبن P كأفوت. So P afot is the cup. Nim P vinag, the plate. So he's saying the Pharisees, you clean or you purify the outside of the pot, the outside of the cup and the plate. Sahun de emutin, inside of you. Emutin is the plural again. Emutin. Meh in holam nimponireya. It's filled with ravening and weakness. Ni atit. Atit means, heat, and generally means the heart. But in Egyptian or Coptic understanding, the heart is where the thoughts come from. So at means without something. So atit, so without heart, or essentially without mind. So that's why it's used for someone who's like foolish or not smart or something. Ni atit, without heart, and again, heart is where the thoughts come from in the Egyptian understanding. So and again, this is something that you'll come across, the definite article. When someone is using this in speech, in Coptic, it's, if I'm talking to some people, I'm not, but I'm just saying, for example, I'm talking to you as a group. I would say, Niram Anzib. Niram Anzib, remember, means student. So I'd say, Niram Anzib. Ariowi and Nitin Osh. Do your lessons, okay? But I say Niram Anzib, that means, oh students, you do this. Oh students. So even though in Coptic it's the definite article, when we think of it in English, we think of it as like, oh you, like here it'd be like, oh you fools. So it's not the fools in English, but it's, even though it technically is, yes it is, but when we translate it, it's called the vocative, V-O-C-A-T-I-V-E. It means we're invoking somebody. So ni'atit, because Jesus is speaking to them, so he's saying, "Oh, you foolish," but in Coptic it's just the foolish, you do blah blah blah. But in English you would translate it as, "Oh, you fools, you did blah blah blah." So you can understand why there's no like the over here. It's just you, or in Old English, ye. Okay. And then thamye comes from thamyo, meaning to create or to make, in the past tense. So you make, or he makes. I'm sorry, past tense. He made. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, please send them in. We'll just do a little bit more of these translations and go from there. This is something you come across if you read the Bible. Oftentimes we'll hear this, woe to you. Woe is uoi noten. Noten is remember it's the oten that we talked about. Uoi noten. So woe unto you, plural. Woe unto you, O Pharisees. Remember it's this ni, but it's in English you don't really say it. Woe unto you, the Pharisees. You would say, woe unto you, Pharisees, like exactly like it's translated here. But in Coptic, this is just the way it has to be grammatically. Je titenti emefremit, ere meat. Meat is, I can't remember, did we do the numbers or not? If we didn't do it, we will do it, but meat.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so meat is the number 10. Re means the fraction. So remit is the 10th, or here they just translate it as tithes. But even biblically, the remit, or it was the 10th of your income, or the tithes. So remit is the 1/10, or the tithe. So titin, T. So remember, titin is you, plural. I'm talking about the Pharisees. You, T is to give. You give the remit, you give the tenths, you give the tithe, but it literally means you give the tenth. MP archina nistoi. of the, you tie the mint. This is very rarely used in Coptic, but it just means the mint, like the peppermint or something. Achinen and stoy. Stoy means has to do with stoy is like smell or odor. But this is the for mint. Nim, so you give the tithes of the achinen estoy or the mint, and pivashush, which is the rue, nim, and utiniven. And titin ko in sotin. Titin again, with ko, you put. Ko means to put or place something. And in sotin, we didn't go into this yet, but it means behind you. So you put behind you, mpihap, you put behind you the judgment. So here they're saying, and you pass over the judgment. So they're ignoring or neglecting it. So you put behind you the judgment, nim ti'agapi, and the love, ti'agapi. And remember, in general, as a general rule, non-Coptic nouns will usually have a feminine definite article, whereas Coptic nouns generally, if they're not speaking about any specific gender, would generally have the masculine definite article. So you put behind you the judgment and the love. So you pass over the judgment and the love into ifnoti of God. Naide nas emipsha. Emipsha means to be worthy. Like, Buna says, if emipsha chen omith me, emipsha means to be worthy. Nas emipsha, again, it's the past continuous. So we're talking about it. He's trying to say it was being more worthy for you to do it. So it would have been more worthy for you. Here they translate it as you should have done this, but it would have been worthier, it would have been better for you to do such and such. And again, woe to you, O Pharisees, woe to you, Pharisees. Titin may and nishorp and ma'an hemsi. So titin, again, you plural. May means to love. Shorp means the first. So you love the first. Ma in hemsi. Hemsi means to sit or seat. Ma is place. So je titin may, you love the first places to sit. I guess the uppermost seats, or the first place, like the front row of the synagogues. You love the first places in the synagogues. Ni shorp is first, ma, places, and hemsi. And again, we know it's plural because ni shorp and ma and hemsi. So you can kind of think of it as from shorp all the way to ma and hemsi is one word. Ni shorp and ma and hemsi. But it's, you can see where the breakup comes to be able to analyze the words. Chen ni synagogi. Nem ni aspasmos. Aspasmos, we know, means greetings. Ni aspasmos means the greetings. Chen ni agora. Agora is the Greek word for marketplace. So you Pharisees, you love the first seats, or the first seating places in the synagogues and the greetings in the markets. And I think with that, it's right about 9 o'clock. Our hour's up, so I think we can conclude with that. So we got to do a little bit more of a review today. Hopefully that was beneficial. And as such, since we didn't have a specific assignment today, there really is no specific homework, but I'd appreciate if as many of you as possible could maybe send me some messages or things that I'm doing well for you, things that I'm not doing so well for you. If you want to continue at the slower pace that we talked about, what kind of things we can do to help to try to improve this, because really I'm doing this for you guys. Again, as you know, I'm already familiar with this, but really I just I love Coptic, so I want to teach it and help other people to learn it too, and hopefully we can kind of increase its usage and stuff, and more than just increasing its usage, but increase people's understanding of it. So with that, that will be the only homework assignment. It's not mandatory. There's no grading, but any send me whatever comments, pluses, minus, things that we can improve or work on, and things you'd like to see in the future. And with that, I guess we'll conclude unless there's any questions. If there's not, then
I just want to tell everyone if you're watching this later, or if you come up with a question later, feel free to post it on the forum, or send it to us and we can convey it to Joe. I think Joe looks at the forum or gets an email or something. But feel free to post on the forum or convey it to us, and we'll convey it to Joe and he can mention it in the next lesson or something.
Yeah, usually I get the emails and stuff, so I don't always get to answer it right away, unfortunately. I do get a little bit busy during the week, but I'll do my best to try to remember and get back to you. So
Yeah,
I
and
almost, I
you
almost, I
could
almost,
actually,
I almost always get back to you, but but I'll do my best.
yeah, and if you want, you could, I mean, if the questions are general enough that they could benefit other students, then you could
Oh yeah,
even mention them in the lecture instead of
yeah, yeah. You
having
can,
to privately respond every time.
yeah, we can put in the lecture or the forum or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we don't have any questions right now, so.
Okay, well, sounds good. Well, we'll conclude with our saying our Father in Coptic, and hopefully, since we've been going through some of this, that you're actually starting to see and understand these words instead of just repeating them without understanding. So that's the goal, is to be able to understand all of our rich prayers that we have in our church. خنفران مفيوت نمفشيري نمبنم ثواب ونوت ينوت آمين جي بنيوت اتخني في قوي معرف توفون جي بكران مارس إنجتك متقورو بيت هناك معرف شوبي اما فريتي خانت فيه نمهي جن بكاهي بن اويك انتراستي ميف نانم فأو ووكان يتيرون نان ايفول اما فريتي هون انتن كو ايفول اني اتا اون انتان ارؤو وو امبير انتن اخون ابيرازموس الله نحمين ايفول ها بيبتهو خن بخريستوس إيسوس بن شويس جثوك تتمت أورو نمتي قوم نمبي أو شاينين تنيانة تيرو آمين خنفران مفيوت نمبشيري نمبنما ثواب ونوتي نوت آمين. Okay, everyone have a good night.